Következő előadónk dr. Andreas Kortekamp, a Rheinpfalzi Növényvédelmi Intézetből, Németországból, és a környezetkímélő megoldásokról fog beszélni a szőlő növényvédelmében, kifejezetten Trichoderma témában. Fogadjátok szeretettel!
Okay, even I have not understand one single word, I would like to thank you for the introduction. And I also would like to thank you and your team for the big and warm welcome we got. For me, it's now the second time that I'm here in Eger and also in this famous building. And last time we had the chance also to see the very old library and the Camera Obscura and also the city, and it's a pleasure for me to be here a second time. And before I start with my presentation, I would like to thank you, Natasha, Alice, and all the other people working in the background, and their names are known, but I would like to thank you very much for your warm and big welcome, for the nice time we spent here, and especially congratulations to you all for the famous wine we had the possibility to taste. So it was very great. Thank you very much for all the organization and for the wines and everything. Okay, maybe you're wondering about the title, Make Wines Green Again. You know that wines are green, but normally they are brown during the winter time, they become green during summer, and then in the next winter they are brown again. But sometimes it happened that they got brown during the season. So this is what you have already seen and already known in the first presentation of Florence and Laura. And these are some expressions of the wines that can be found in Germany in the last year. And you can see the typical symptoms and also the dead wines. So this is what you have already heard. Just to give you some data about the amount of diseased and dead wines, so please just have a look in the last column here. We made a quick survey in our own vineyards, and we have checked 3 different varieties, Müller-Thurgau, Pinot Noir, and our famous Riesling. And what you can see here, Riesling is our main variety, especially in the Palatinate area. You could see here of 2015, we had 20% diseased wines, and last year it increased up to 8%, 15%, 10%, 12%, and so on. So last year it was a huge amount of diseased and dead wines. So this is the problem. What could be a solution? And the solution could be Trichoderma. And here you can see why we want to make wines green again, because Trichoderma is a green fungus. And I would like to introduce a little bit, because one thing is very important if you want to use a biological control agent. And that is a naturally occurring fungus in the vineyard and also in wines. So these fungal organisms are able to colonize grapevine, and they are naturally occurring in vineyards and in the wine itself. Fortunately, they do not have negative effects on the plants. Of course, they shouldn't have, but they have antagonistic effects to the pathogens, either bacteria or fungal species. As you can see here, just to show you some pictures, that grapevine is a plant that can be colonized by different species of Trichoderma. So not one single species, different species and different strains. So why Trichoderma could be interesting for us? So the question that arises is, why should we use Trichoderma instead of a chemical or something else? Now you have to keep in mind, if you spray Trichoderma on the wounds, it's like the same situation that you have here in the ordinance. The seed you have taken is taken, so nobody else can have the same seed. So if there is one fungus, another fungus can't take place. So this is quite simple, but it's very effective. So this is a competition for the place. Of course, you have a competition of the nutrients, because the fungus would like to get fed by the grapevine plant from some sugars, from iron contents, but without having negative effects on these plants. So if this fungus reduces nutrients from the wound, the other fungal pathogens can't colonize this wound. Next one is that all these Trichoderma species produce some chemicals, it could be enzymes, it could be antibiotics. So the pathogens get hit by this wooden device, so they can't grow in this wound. And what you also can see is that there is an indirect effect. So it means that Trichoderma can be used as a plant strengthener, that it's boosting the plant's own immunity, as you can see here, for example. And finally, Trichoderma are quite tricky because they're able to feed on the pathogens. So it means they are hyperparasites and can destroy the fungal cells. So this is a multifactorial mode of action of Trichoderma, and this is why Trichoderma is interesting, and we do not expect a resistance against Trichoderma if you apply it very often in the vineyard. So this is another very important fact. And Trichoderma is not only able to colonize the wound, but it can also migrate and grow within the stem or the shoot of the grapevine plant. Since this year we have the first product registered in Germany. It's called Vintec, and this is a specific strain. You can see here the name of the species. This is an important fact, but you also have to respect the strain, because the strain also is adapted to a specific environment. So it's not very important to use Trichoderma itself, but to use a specific strain. As Laura said in her presentation, we also did some field experiments from several years. You have to apply the Trichoderma products just once per year, and what arises in the discussion is that you have to respect the environmental conditions, which means that you have higher temperatures, at least 10 degrees or more, and it should not rain 12 or 24 hours after the application to avoid the washing down of the spores that would like to germinate. And even if it's a fungus that comes from the nature and you bring it back to the nature, it's also suitable for organic viticulture, so it can also be used for all those wineries that use this organic type of production. Just to give you some imagine how Trichoderma is able to colonize the wounds. Here on the right side you can see here a freshly created wound that was sprayed with Trichoderma, and maybe you can see the appearing green color, and if you have a closer look with the electron microscope, you can see here the mycelium on the surface of Trichoderma here, just a short view of this colonized shoot. But as I said, the growth of Trichoderma is not two-dimensional, it also grows within the shoot. Here again you could see some xylem vessels, a closer look on these xylem vessels, and what you can see here, these are the fungal, this is a fungal mycelium, the hyphae of this fungus that grow into the mycelium. This is a cross section, and here on the right side you have a longitudinal sections, and if you have a closer look on this picture, of course you can see here some fungal hyphae, but if you have here, these are marked by arrows, you can look inside the xylem vessels, here for example, also here for example, you can see that the fungal hyphae grow within these xylem vessels. And this is what I explained before, the seed is taken. Of course, this is just theory. We would like to show the effect, the efficacy in the vineyard. Cecilia, the next presentation, you will give us much more information about the technique. Just a brief introduction, what can be done. So for example, the product is sprayed on the freshly created wound. We wait 1 or 2 days, then we made an artificial inoculation, and then after 6 months, we took some wood slices from this shoot. We put them onto a nutrient agar in petri dishes, and we checked if the pathogen or if Trichoderma is able to grow out. So these are the results of 7 or 8 years experience in the field. We tested different products against 2 important pathogens. In Germany, PCH is the most important. The efficacy depends on the product. For example, products that are used in Southern Europe using Trichoderma strains that are not well adapted to our climate have a lower efficacy, but if you use other products, you can see an efficacy of about 60 to 80%. You have to keep in mind, if you use a fungicide to avoid grey mold, botrytis infection, you might have just an efficacy of 30, 40, or 50%. So 60 to 80% for a biological product is really a lot. So it works quite well. As Laura said, you should start quite early. So to make an application of Trichoderma in the vineyard is really a good idea, but why not to start during the plant propagation process? Cecilia will focus on this detail. So what we can do is to use Trichoderma, isolate, you can reproduce it, and you can use it during the plant propagation process just very simply by dipping the science, the rootstocks or the grafted vines for 1 or 2 hours. And what we then do is we decorticate these vines. Here you can see the grafting position. So we took one of these wooden slides above the grafting position, one below, one in the middle, and one at the base of these vines. Here you can see these wooden slices in the diameter of 1 centimeter and the thickness of maybe 5 millimeters. They are surface sterilized by heat. They are divided into 4 pieces and placed again on these petri dishes. So what I would like to show you the results of the colonization rate of Trichoderma within the vines, and I would like to focus here on this position. This is the position number 3. So what you can see here, you can summarize it in the graph at the bottom. Here are the 4 distinct positions, 1, 2, 3, 4. We use different strains or products. And I would like to go back to the slide before, have a look on position number 3, which is here in the middle of the vine. And if you have a look here, you can see that these vines are completely colonized. So it doesn't matter if the fungus grows from the base or from the top, but you can see that after a few weeks, the whole vine is colonized by Trichoderma, which can be seen here, that the colonization rate is between 90 and 100%. So this is very important, because to have a beneficial effect of Trichoderma, you need a colonization and a total colonization of the grapevine plant, because, I'll go back, this will be the stem in the next few years. Okay, we have a high colonization rate at the beginning. So this is what you have already seen. But we would like to know if the plants are still colonized when they had been put into the nurseries, the grafted plants into the nurseries, and then they are replanted in the autumn. And this is what I would like to show you on the right graph. When you dig the vines out, you can see that the colonization rate does not drop down, it increases a little bit, because it's a living organism, and if it's once in the vine, it can grow within the vine, and here you can see that you have colonization rates between 95 and 100%. So it means that nearly each vine is colonized by Trichoderma when once treated with Trichoderma. What we also would like to know is the beneficial effect of Trichoderma pre-inoculation after an artificial infection with a pathogen. So what we did here is we soaked these scions in a spore suspension, first with Trichoderma, then with the pathogen. We put them here into these boxes, we let them grow, and then we analyzed the length of the shoots by its dry weight. So here you can see the effects. We use different compounds, for example hydroxyquinoline, this is also a disinfectant. We use different fungicides, the azoles, the strobilurins. Florence told you something about this. And how to explain this graph, you can see here the untreated control. So this is the normal growth of the vines. Of course you have no pathogens, the normal growth. This is the artificial infection. So you can see that the growth is reduced. And you have, of course, the pathogens in the vines. So if you use sol or some other kind of hydroxyzinoline, you can see that there is no difference by using these chemicals compared to the infected control. But what happened if you use Trichoderma before? You can see that the amount of the pathogen is reduced and the growth increases again. So the positive effect of Trichoderma is that you can see the same growth as in the non-inoculated control. So for us, or for the nurseries, it's also important to know that the plants that should be sold are in a good condition. So it means how is the percentage of these wines that are suitable for sale? And here you have the control. Not each grafted plant is suitable for sale. Here you can see in the control more than 60%, 65%, and these are the Trichoderma treated ones, and you can see that there is no negative effect, even a slight increased effect, so it means you can sell, if you are a nursery, you can sell more wines of a good quality if they are treated with Trichoderma. So this is also important to know that Trichoderma did not cause any adverse effects. Of course, what we also did is that we made some different plantations of all these wines that had been treated with Trichoderma. Just to give you one example, this is one of the vineyards. You have seen that is a picture taken late in October. Our Riesling grafted on SO4, and we had the first results last year. Of course, you can't not see a big difference because the time span is not long enough. We would like to observe these vineyards for a longer period of time, of course, to see if there are any differences. At the moment, there are no big differences. But we will see, as I said, it's too early to check the effect. And by the way, of course, we have not seen any adverse effects of Trichoderma treatments, also not in the field. So this is what I would like briefly to present to you, the beneficial effects of Trichoderma application, even if you apply it during the plant propagation process in the nurseries or in the vineyard. And we would like to combine these both strategies. So it means that the wines had been first treated with Trichoderma in the nurseries. They are planted into the field, they are removed, they are packed, they are sold for the wine growers, and you have to repeat, or you can repeat, this Trichoderma application in the field. As Laura said, it makes no sense to buy good quality of wines if you do not apply something in the vineyard. You have to do both to maintain the good quality of the wines. And what we would like to get is, of course, that the pathogens and the diseases are not able to enter the wines for long-lasting vineyards, of course. So now I'm at the final end of my presentation. Of course, I could not stand here in front of you without the kind help of all my co-workers and the colleagues. So I would like to thank all these people that had been involved in this work. And of course, I would like to thank you for paying attention. Thank you very much.